being recorded and will be posted online. So yeah, recorded and posted online. So yeah, be nice. 1 minute. In terms of scribe, who's volunteering to scribe today?
I can scribe.
Okay, cool. Okay, so we had a bunch of things on the agenda. Philippe, have you seen Todd's comment of you presenting your dashboard to the group?
No, and I spent a bit of time on it, but not. It's not ready yet.
Okay.
I can show what I have, which is exactly what I showed you a few weeks ago. The things that I did are underneath, not quite visible quite yet. But if you want me to talk about it,
should we defer later, Philippe? To give you more time?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I promise I will present it next time, whatever I have.
Okay. Cool.
Sorry, I got, I got super busy.
Yeah, no worries. So otherwise, on the slightly administrative side of things, we had a bunch of spec errors in the last few weeks. Most of them seem to be related to shepherd failures, which is something I wasn't really aware of, which apparently collects cross-references between specs and then for some reason didn't pick up a bunch of things related to HR time. But again, it raises the repeating question of, or the repeating problem of us catching link and cross-reference errors in our specs when they're in production rather than build time, which is something that seems to be inherent to respec versus bike shed. So I'm personally a bit frustrated by that, but I wanted to get the opinion of the group around that. And Philippe, I don't know if you have if there's a more generic solution, because it doesn't seem to be a specific problem for this group, but generally with respect.
To me, we are suffering from the fact that Marcos has been making some changes, and so the ground has been moving underneath. There were things that were not working 2 weeks ago that are now working. I had my own set of frustration with respect in the past 2 weeks because of that. I think at this point we either have the choice to say, you know what, we're going to keep with respect, and yes, we have to basically suffer a little bit for the until TPAC, and that's the price rather than having to rewrite all of our specs, or we decide, respec it to a stable, and we need to switch to backshed. Either way, it means that for the next month or two, we're going to be a little bit unstable.
Is there a third option where we freeze the production snapshot? I think it's okay for an editor's draft to be a little bit in flux to reflect the latest respec, but what stops us from just capturing the HTML and freezing it?
So, based on the latest feedback from Marcos, I sent earlier today a pull request to fix 2 or 3 things in HR time, and my plan was, as soon as it gets merged, I republish the CR so that I can actually get shepherd and check tomorrow that shepherds digested it properly.
So I see. So you're saying, but that still does not solve the underlying issue, right? Like the problem is there's some set of documents which we won't manually validate every time a new respec version rolls out, and there's probability that it will break something, and it's a cause of constant frustration for us because it's not something that we do. It's like Marcos is making positive improvements in respec, but sometimes they have backwards incompatible failures.
But even if we freeze the version of respec we use, they can still make changes on the server side because respec is using some services out there.
Yeah, I think this time around it wasn't respec changes, but something related to Shepherd, which is a service that collects cross-references from various specs, and there were some failures there that caused these failures. And we had similar failures in ByteShed, but those are compile time failures, which enable me to say, okay, I won't use the cross-reference, I just use a manual link. Where with respec, it's a production failure. And yeah, but we could freeze the HTML. We could create some sort of a build step for respec.
Right, that's my question, right? Like there's the freezing respec version, but then there's just like at a point in time, capture the actual output of the page and just serve that.
Yeah. I think we can easily do that with Puppeteer and just...
And then we could manually update it, like Revit, at our own will, if and when respec version changes and we think it offers significant benefits, right? So like then we control what bugs we introduce or not because we can manually validate what the improvements are.
Yeah. That indeed sounds like a lower overhead solution to this problem. Yeah. I like it.
Philippe, any thoughts on that?
Well, I'm fine either way. I mean, you guys are the one who are spending most time on those specifications than not. You know, I'm willing to try to help fix the references issues. It takes a little bit more time than I was hoping. But if you guys, you know, whatever you guys decide your workflow ought to be, that's fine by me.
So it looks like most of them are already fixed, right? The respec or whatever fix is done. What we're talking about is more like how to make it more future-proof in the sense that whenever respec or Shepherd fails again, we don't immediately start displaying websites that have lots of errors and incorrect links. So the idea is to just freeze the version we present instead of relying on the respec infrastructure, which has been flaky historically.
I would actually reframe it even from, it's not just that it's flaky, it's that it changes, right? Syntax changes, like Marcos is landing improvements and changes in the syntax, and because of that, some past documents just have errors and need to be updated. And unfortunately, we're always chasing this on the, oh, now it's broken. Somebody reported that, you know, there's a bunch of issues being flagged. Whereas it worked before. And we'd like to move to a world where we are in the control of revving those, as opposed to being reactive to these issues.
So yeah, we can certainly set up some Travis job or something that basically you know, actually takes the automatic generation of respec when the commit is done on the main branch of the repo. Like we do, that's what we do with ByteShed all the time. We set them up so that, yeah, you push a source file and there is a job that will take care of generating the index.
Right. So I guess we can take an AI out of this to investigate what it would take to do that with respec. Who would drive that?
Yeah, the problem is time. We have example of that in a few repositories. I don't know if one of you is willing to look. I can certainly point people to some examples that can look into it, or you guys could wait for me to get to it. Whatever. I don't know how much in a hurry you are to set that up.
It's not urgent, but it has been a non-urgent issue for a long, long while. So I can try to find the time to do that.
Probably something we're looking at like 2 or 3 hours, 1 hour to figure out exactly the proper setting and the rest to propagate it to the 10 repositories that we have.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll note in the notes, there's an AI to investigate adding a build step for respec. We do have some existing examples, and Yov and Philippe, you'll let us collaborate scope what that
Yeah,
ends.
and you have, if you want me to point you to some example, let me know, and I'll, or if you already have some example in mind, then I don't need to do that.
If you have examples in mind, that'd be helpful.
Great, okay.
Okay, cool. So moving on to actual issues. Performance timeline. We have a couple of issues on the spec. Let's start with the first one. How does Q, a performance entry algorithm, interact with other specs? I don't know if anyone has looked into that, but it seems to be like my read is that it's misunderstanding of what the buffered flag does.
I think it just seems to. I think they just don't know which specs are calling the queue of the entry, which are like most of the other specs. If I understand correctly, it's not fetch or HTML, but resource timing, long tasks, etc. So I'm not sure if that's a real issue or.
Yeah, yeah, it seems like we just need to point out a few examples and then see if Josh will, if there's an underlying issue or if it's just a misunderstanding of what's calling what. Will and Benjamin, since this is coming from Mozilla, do you have any further context on this or not really?
I have no context on this, but he is in our office. He's in my office here in Toronto. So you need to have, contact with him. I'm happy to work that, but no, I don't have any contact.
Okay. Could you maybe then work with Josh in order to figure out like what's the underlying issue if there is one?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Okay, so maybe as an AI here, Nikos, is it worth sharing a couple of examples in that thread, and then maybe Will can follow up?
So actually reading the second comment, they already found resource timing.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure what the complaint in the comment is. I would have to look into it.
Yeah, I read it as misunderstanding of what the buffered flag does versus the buffered flag versus the actual like entry buffer. But maybe it would be good to clarify.
Okay. So AI is to clarify what the question is.
Yeah. Yeah, and okay. So, and in terms of milestones, that doesn't seem like blocking. Like, I don't want to put it as a level 3 nor as a level 2 blocking.
Can we just leave it unassigned at the moment and just first clarify what the question is? Because it seems like just
I think, now I'm looking at it, I think it was complaining about parameter that was previously in the queue and entry, which was a buffered flag, which has now been removed. So I think this issue is no longer an issue, but we can double check.
Okay. Because yeah, I failed to find the text that he was referring to, so that may be the reason for that. Okay. But yeah, let's take AIs to clarify the question and see if it's still relevant. Okay. Next up, we have relevant performance entry tuple still broken. So this is currently marked as level 2 blocking, which makes sense. So it looks like we're calling queue performance entry from somewhere that doesn't have a context object, and we're referring to context object inside.
Yeah, so that is a simple fix. I just haven't gotten to it, but I've been assigned to fix that, so I'll do it soon.
Okay.
Yeah, it's basically we need to have the object. We need another parameter there. So yeah.
Yeah, we need like to pass the parameter instead of using the context object, and then do the right thing with that. And then finally for performance timeline, we have the WPTs. So let me share my tab a minute, but I think that we're all green.
Chrome and Edge are. There's some failures, I guess, for Firefox and Safari.
Yeah, but the failures for Firefox are for supported entry types did make it in. So it's just supported entry types support in terms of
It should be about returning the same value. If you call it twice.
yeah. So it has to be yeah, triple equivalence for because the result is cached. Is that related to the latest change that he did?
Yes.
For entry types? Okay.
It's supposed to be a frozen array, and then so you say performance dot supported entry types equals sorry, performance observer dot supported entry types equals to itself. It should return true. So apparently it's returning false in Firefox and in Safari.
Yeah. And then there are like for the IDL harness pieces.
So those are unrelated to performance timeline, I think. Those are user timing. At least the Firefox ones are user timing.
What do you mean?
Which one are you referring to, Nicholas?
Very well.
Let me. Oh, I can't record and share screen. Or I. Let me.
Why are performance mark? Why are we? Yeah, I see what you're saying. They're performance marked interface.
Yeah, so there is this weird dependency of performance timeline on user timing on the ideal harness, so that we can actually create entries. And unfortunately, because user timing recently changed, then the ideal harness is failing because of that.
Oh, okay. So,
So, but I would call it not really a performance timeline issue. At least the ones that Firefox is failing.
okay.
The other ones that Safari is failing do seem to be relevant, but the performance mark and performance, yeah, those seem to be about user timing, so it's not.
Okay, so these are not actual failures, and the only failures are around supported entry type, like this failure where the result is not cached. Will or Benjamin, will you be open? Like, is there an open issue on this? If there is that something that you would be able to look into?
Yeah, I don't know if there's an open issue or not, but I've made a note of it and I will check on it.
Yeah, it's a relatively recent test addition. We added it to fix actually Boris, some of the things Boris.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of surprised that Firefox does not pass it, to be honest, because he was the one who said we're never going to implement this the other way. But
yeah, well, unfortunately, that's because it all rolls down to a couple people, and yeah, so I have to do it, but I just haven't had time yet. I'll get to it.
Cool. Thank you. Okay. So moving on to page visibility, and
Hold on one second. Can I? Two questions. One, for the user timing failures, are we okay with that? Because it seems a little odd for us to have these failing tests if we're saying, like, we have this dependency. Are we okay with that?
the problem is, unless we figure out how to create an entry type, a performance entry that does not depend on other things, then we can't. We could certainly change the ideal harness to a more stable entry type because user timing just recently changed. But
so let me see if I can rephrase this. In order to test the performance timeline, we need a way to create entries, and the only way to create entries today is via user timing directly.
Well, other specs that are not performance timing can be user timing or it can be something else, right? So this dependency will exist as long as that's the case.
Yeah. So you're saying we can change the dependency to be on some other spec, but we'll have some dependency unless we have unless we introduce ability in performance timeline to create an arbitrary entry.
Right. Yeah, like a generic performance entry.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I guess is there a way to? Why is the test failing though? Like, my understanding is that Firefox does support user timing, so why in this case?
Because I believe it's because it's testing. I believe the harness is looking at user timing level 3 shape. So it does pass most of the performance mark checks. However, there are some new things. I'm not even sure if Chrome is doing the correct thing there, to be honest. But
is there a way for us to change that spec to not depend on the latest thing that nobody has shipped?
So I thought the ideal harness just pulls in from the latest spec version. I don't know if they have support for pulling in from a more stable version.
That's a good question. Philippe, is there a way for us to pull from like L2 user timing?
No. That's a short answer, unfortunately, because WPT's goal is to test the web, not to test a stable version of it. So all of the systems are triggered to
fetch for the latest editors draft more than anything else.
Okay, that's tricky.
That was a design choice we made 7 or 8 years ago.
Okay, so I'm not hearing any solutions for it. I guess we're okay with current state as is. We'll just have to kind of make a mental note of these failures are not failures. Okay. My second question is looking at the web platform tests on Safari. Just squinting, I think a bunch of them are due to the fact that Performance Observer is not supported, which we know. But for example, there's case sensitivity tests, Alex, that are failing right now, or get entries by type. Is that a known issue for you guys?
We can't hear you.
My lip reading is still pretty bad.
I think he's having issues getting it to work.
Oh. Did you accept?
Alex too.
Okay.
Alex, worst case, there's also chat if you're struggling with the microphone.
We are aware of the issue, but probably won't fix it for at least a month or so.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to confirm that you guys are aware of it. Thanks.
Okay. Cool. So moving on to page visibility. Okay, so the first issue is actually like related to the respec issues we talked about earlier. Apparently not all of them are fixed, and there is one related to event handler that will probably, like, I'm not sure if that was covered by the Shepherd fixes or not.
That should be covered.
It's still broken, so no.
Yeah, it's still broken, yeah.
Can you please assign those to me? When you see reference errors, please assign those to me.
Okay, sure.
I'm getting better at understanding that thing, so that's why I'm like, might as well use me and my current knowledge.
Yeah, for some reason I can't assign that to you.
Yes,
Oh,
it
yeah.
works.
Oh,
Sorry.
I found. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Got it. Okay.
That was 44. That was issue 44.
That is issue 44. Yes. Okay. Then we have a bunch of PRs that Todd wrote, and I really wish he was here to talk of them. Yeah. Basically, we have 3 open issues and 3 open PRs on them. So basically,
Who are the right people to review this?
yeah, that's a question.
I guess ideally we would want maybe Will and Alex and someone from Chrome side. So either Yo or myself, we can take a look.
Yeah, I can take a look, but yeah, it would be great to have others that are potentially more familiar with that, with page visibility.
Okay, so AI is for Yo. Alex, would you be able to take a look at the PRs here? Thank you.
Okay.
Next one.
And otherwise, from a WPT perspective, we're all green other than pre-render, which is already at risk. So yeah, I think that once those PRs land and those issues are closed, we'll be able to ship. But yeah, Philly.
Can I thought we resolved to remove. What do we mean by pre-render?
Yeah,
I thought we removed it already. Philip, didn't you already republish? Or had a PR that did we just not remove the test? Philip, you muted.
Okay, oh, bad luck. It was never published with pre-render. We had removed it already from the publication. So what I did at the face-to-face meeting or the day after was to send a PR to remove it from the editor's draft.
okay. So we just need to remove the test in order to have everything green and shiny, but it's not blocking us in any way. Is that correct?
That is indeed correct.
Okay, so.
And the Todd said he would look into, he also sent pull requests as well. So those one needs to be reviewed and approved.
Yeah.
Which pull request is?
Well, like number 46.
Yeah, the pull request that we talked about. There are like 2 pull requests from Todd, 1 from me that needs to be reviewed and landed in order for us to close all the issues. And I'm opening an issue now to remove the pre-render test.
Okay. Should we open a new issue for that, or can someone just own it?
For the pre-render stuff, I open a new issue assigning myself just so I'd remember, and then I'll do that.
Okay, great.
And I'll fix a reference issue.
Great. And then, so that's the only outstanding failure? Great.
Looks like, yeah. There are some Safari failures, but we have Chrome and Firefox that are fully green outside of that.
Okay, so what are the failures on Safari?
I will share my screen.
So there's visibility. It seems like it's visibility change related. Does Safari not implement visibility change?
So iframe unload on visibility change, unload bubble and unload.html. So visibility change, and a bunch of things related to unload. And we can look into, oh, so it's timeouts. So it's not clear if this is not supported or the test relies on something that is not supported in Safari. These are all timeouts.
Alex, have you looked at this? Are you familiar with any potential reasons why they may be failing?
Message saying we intend to look at them eventually.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool. Okay.
Great. Okay.
Okay. Cool. So okay, so there are a couple of issues for request idle callback. One of them, I think we just need to land the PR, which is clarify time remaining. I reviewed it once. I need to do a second sweep, like there were review comments that were addressed. I need to do a second sweep, and then we can probably land this. And then there is the question of deadline definition that are where we made some progress during the hackathon after the face-to-face, where Ryaska had some proposals, and I think there's general agreement on the path here, and we just need to formalize it in the form of a PR. And I have an pending PR to the price to address this, so I can probably add the agreements from the hackathon to that PR and then see if we can land it. I don't know if any other folks on the call have strong feelings related to deadline definitions and can chime in on that thread with agreement or disagreement.
It's a long thread. I haven't had a chance to read through it. Is there a proposed wording or something that we can read to?
No proposed wording specifically, just proposed concepts that we can hang on. So what Ryaske suggested was to use task sources from HTML to indicate which one of them are considered critical, I think was the wording from the spec, but basically define what tasks are critical in terms of those task sources from HTML, and then use that in order to determine what to do when a deadline is approaching, or to calculate the remaining deadline.
Gotcha. So in terms of moving that discussion forward, are you or who's driving it? What are the blockers?
I can, I have a PR up in the air. I can add that to the PR and then ask Ryaska to review.
Okay.
So I can probably assign myself to that.
Which PR?
This is 71.
The issue is 71. The PR is 78. But there are bits and pieces, it addresses some, currently it addresses some of Ryaske's concerns, but not all of them. I need to make sure that it addresses all of them.
Great, okay. And for 78, well, I guess, yeah, you're driving it.
Yeah.
All right. That 71 has been open for a long time. I'm glad we're making progress on it.
Yeah.
What about web platform tests for cross-idle callback? Anything we need to review there?
Web platform tests for request idle callback. I believe they are green on the Firefox and Chrome side, but let me verify. Yes, we have fully green in Chrome, Edge, and Firefox, and Safari is, for lack of support, somewhere between orange and red.
What is the link for the WPT? I'm using request idle callback, but it's not coming up for me.
Let me add a link to the agenda.
Oh, it's case sensitive. Duh. Okay, now it works.
Okay.
Okay, very great.
Okay. So for navigation timing, I didn't put in. Basically, we have two issues, like 3 issues that just require some work in terms of landing them. One is like 2 related to missing tests around worker start, and 1 for like tests around secure connection start. So I don't think there's a lot to discuss there other than, you know, the fact that this work needs to happen. I'm tackling the secure connection start bit. I'd be very happy if someone were to tackle the worker start related tests. That is something that Noam from Microsoft started working on during Hackathon, but I don't know if he.
I vaguely remember at the face-to-face talking about this test and saying that it's not relevant anymore. Am I thinking of something else?
So one of them isn't. You're right, and the timing allow check is no longer relevant. But I think it should be. We should basically change it to be same origin. It's still a test that we need to write, but it's just a different test.
Okay, so could we either edit the issue to reflect the new intent, or close and open a new one?
I will edit the title.
So this is the worker start should be gated on tau that you're referring to?
Yes, and it is now gated on same origin check.
Okay.
Yeah. Good point. Yeah.
And for the same origin test, do we land all of the tests for that? Are we green across the browsers for that?
We have landed all the tests for that. We are not green. Let me share the WPTs. So this is the last one, all the way at the bottom. Unload event, same origin check. It is green in Chrome now, as well as Chromium Edge. It is not green in Firefox, and I believe I open an issue, and I believe will like. Can you share status on that?
The status is that I pushed the button that says that I will be the assignee for it.
Okay.
but yes, it's on my radar, and I have one test to land, some stuff to land today, but then I'm going to pivot to that pretty quickly since it is, as you said, a security issue.
It looks like Edge is also not green for some reason. I don't know how that happens. But...
Edge is not green? Oh,
11 out of 13. Yeah, what's failing there?
okay. What is failing? I'm guessing it's just that the change hasn't made it to Edge 77 yet, in terms of just branching, because it is like Chrome is green due to a code change, and I'm guessing the change haven't made it all the way there yet, but probably will at some point.
Okay. And then for Safari, is there a bug open for it? Alex, is this on your radar? All right, Yo, could you hit back for a second?
Oh, yeah, sure.
I'm not aware. Okay.
Well, not aware of a bug open for it. So, okay.
Well, that's not the only Safari failure, though. Seems to be a lot of.
There's a few, yeah, but this one I think
redirects in general.
So I suspect that this is so I'm using Performance Observer for those tests, and maybe that's the reason for the Safari failures. Just because it's not supported along with many other things, because I think that like looking at the failures themselves, they seem like they don't know what the entry is. So I'm calling get entries by type navigation and get nothing in return, I think. Or
yeah, so it'd be nice to decouple those, right? Because if there's a separate reason for why the tests are failing versus we're considering this change to be a potential security problem, that's probably something we should prioritize.
So it would be fairly easy to move either move or add another test that tests the the nav timing 1 interface, but basically an identical test that tests the nav timing 1 interface, and then we can see if.
Oh, I see. So you're saying that the current test for same origin is using Performance Observer. I actually interpreted the other tests in that list may also be using Performance Observer.
I think that they are. I think most of the tests that are failing are using Performance Observer and marked as nav2.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. So,
Alex, this begs the question: could we add Performance Observer? It's a possibility. I like that answer. Okay, so I guess the flag here, Alex, is just maybe manually verify that this behavior is as we would like in Safari, because there's a potential security issue here, which is independent of the Performance Observer discussion. Okay. Anything else?
That's all what I had on the list. There are a couple more things for resource timing, but again, things that just require work that is already, nothing to discuss. Just need to ignore email for a while and get it done. So
Okay, so we're right on time, 4 minutes to spare. So next call, we said, is July 10th, 10 a.m. PST. That'll be a Wednesday. And that'll be a design.
So there's still another last thing in the agenda. I don't know if Philippe wanted to talk about that.
Oh, the last thing is the Gargantua thing. You're referring to that? That is what we talked about with Philippe earlier on the call, and he prefers to present it next time around.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, folks.
Thanks.
See you on July 10th. Bye.
Cheers.